Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Donald Trump crashes JD Vance's town hall party, and even Chris Cuomo seems like he's having a good time. This is unusually important, and I'll explain more later. But first off, we got to talk about our great sponsors at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to Biden inflation and Harris economics, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
So, Senator, you're going to want to sit down for this one.
Oh, no.
Not unlike Beetlejuice. If you invoke the former president's names too many times in a row, he's going to want to weigh in on what is being said about him. And we have a call right now from former President Donald John Trump. He wants to weigh in. Mr. President, I know there's a little bit of a delay. Can you hear us? And what is your question for the senator?
Well, I can hear you, Chris, and I do have a question, and I think it'll be quite an interesting one. The answer should be easy. How brilliant is Donald J. Trump?
Take your time. Think about it.
Well, first of all, sir, this is supposed to be undecided voters. I would hope that I have your vote, of all people. But here's first of all, sir, of course, you're very brilliant, and we both agree. We both agree that it's important to have very smart people running our government. But here's the thing about President Trump, that aside of you, sir, if you'll forgive me for telling this story, that I think often people don't see. And of course, I got my beautiful wife here in the front row. And one of my favorite moments with President Trump is we were hosting an event for him near our home in Cincinnati a few months ago. And of course, my wife was a little bit nervous to really, talk to the president of the United States. And he asked her, what do you think about your husband being in public service? And she gives, if you know my wife, a very diplomatic answer. Sir, he really cares about the people of Ohio. He's thrilled to be able to serve them, and I'm happy to support him however I can. And President Trump chuckles and goes, yeah, my wife hates it too. and the thing that it did is it just immediately broke the barrier. And it wasn't the former president. It was just a person talking to my wife. And I think you guys were able to have a nice conversation. But that ability to relate to anybody in any environment, I think that's the true brilliance of Donald J. Trump.
That's very nice, and I appreciate it.
No, that is unironically the brilliance of Trump. That is a politician who has been able to transcend he's been able to break the plane, so to speak. He's able to break the fourth wall, and not like how Deadpool or the Muppets do it. He does it in his own very interesting fashion. So let's actually wind back the clock a little bit, because we don't talk about the story of JD Vance enough. And I'm not talking about his fun college experiences. Let's be honest, hooligans are going to be hooligans in college. That's the whole point of the thing, or at least is part of the point, especially if you've seen Animal House. But the story of JD Vance, you know what? I'll actually sort of self-insert here. And I'm not doing that because I'm prideful. I'm doing that because that's one of my better ways of understanding the context. In early 2015, when I noticed Donald Trump was running for president, I immediately recoiled in horror. I'm an ex-evangelical. I still carry some of the toxicity, but I no longer consider myself an evangelical. And I say things tongue-in-cheek when I talk about evangelical politics and theology. But in 2015, I'm in school, and I consider myself a principled small government conservative. Hey y'all, I'm not exactly looking at retirement anytime soon, but my parents are. And friends of my parents are. And I'm sure either you or someone you know is looking at retirement and wondering, what do I do? How do I help prepare for this in this economy with this terrible president and with a vice president who basically coup d'etat him and is now looking to run for president herself? How do you protect against this? Well, simple. You go over to my friends at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have something called the Retirement Package Plan. This plan backs your wealth with gold and silver accounts. And furthermore, you will have direct access to these accounts. So you're not at the whims of Wall Street. You're not at the whims of inflation. You are in command of your own destiny. As a bonus, qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in free silver, plus a couple of other little goodies that they're going to package up for you, and you're going to be able to protect your wealth and your retirement. So go over to this link in the description below at colonialmetalsgroup.com or call this number 800-203-0422 and see how they can help you prepare for retirement today by backing your account with gold and silver. Don't delay your retirement, folks. Protect the money that you earned with Colonial Metals Group. They're here to help. And during that time, when Donald Trump was running, the majority of the students that agreed with me, and I myself, despised him. Okay? We did not like Donald Trump. We did not want Donald Trump. We wanted someone more like Ted Cruz. And that was originally the man who was getting the most evangelical support. Before that, when in 2008, it was Mike Huckabee that was getting a lot of that support. Mitt Romney, he was not good at tapping into that. So Ted Cruz was the guy that I wanted the most in the primary. And I even made public posts about how much I despised Donald Trump. And JD Vance did the exact same. We're cut from a very similar cloth. We're both Appalachians. We both were raised in very Christian evangelical households. The difference was I had two fantastic parents, and he had a drug-abusing mother who couldn't properly take care of him, and he was raised by his grandmother. And so we had similar political beliefs, and Donald Trump initially just horrified us. This blustering, mean-spirited, on his fourth and much younger wife with the very explicit history. Yeah, this is not the ideal candidate, right? And then something weird happened to me. The Access Hollywood tapes came out. That was the October surprise of 2016. The October surprise this year is Trump is Hitler, and that's already not going well. And they've tried to drop, I think, 3 stories within this week alone, and none of them have worked. It's just mind-numbingly stupid at this point. But the Access Hollywood tape was supposed to horrify people. And I actually looked at the tape, I listened to it, and realized, wait a minute. You've been sitting on this story, this one particular tape, for years. And instead of dropping it during the primaries, instead of dropping it earlier in the presidential campaign, the media quite literally had this story and they waited to the last possible minute for the most dramatic effect. Do you know what that really is? That's blackmail. All right? That's essentially the media lying to you and holding on to the truth and then giving you little chunks of it. Here you go, eat the slop. There you go, be outraged, adore us. No, I'm not playing that game. I went to the polls initially, just a few days before, not wanting to vote for Donald Trump, vote down ballot, leave President blank. I angrily voted Trump because I realized what was going on that day. And I have not looked back. And it turns out Donald Trump turned out to be a fantastic president. His foreign policy worked. His domestic policy, his tax cuts worked. The way he was reorganizing the government, particularly the Supreme Court, worked. He was one of the best conservatives since Reagan. And he was fixing some of Reagan's problems as well. And furthermore, he's planning to fix even more of them by opening up the tent and bringing even more people into the GOP. And so that's why JD Vance changed his mind. He saw all these policies and realized, wait a minute, you were right all along? My bad, my apologies, I'm on board. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, what can I do to help? And because JD Vance is well-educated, conservative, intelligent, and clearly smart as a whip in this pick, he is now the vice presidential nominee and is likely going to be the next vice presidential candidate. And your vice presidents, you typically want them to be senators. They're used to having that sort of voting expertise, because the number one job of the vice president is to have all the tie-breaking votes, and that's why Kamala Harris has been so terrible. She was the tiebreaker, and that's how we got all this terrible legislation. So Donald Trump made a good pick here. And this isn't about Trump being able to break the veil and being this fun guy behind the scenes and really just a dude. That's not what this is about. I can talk about that and how he breaks the he breaks the fourth wall, so to speak. That's not the reason. The reason that I became a Trump supporter was because I realized that in this crazy world, there's one guy screaming out, hey, this is insane, it needs to stop. All right, Ron Paul did that, and I'm going to have to eat crow on Ron Paul for a long time. But Donald Trump is carrying that message. Donald Trump is now carrying also the message that we need to make America healthy again. Okay? He has taken on RFK Jr., who is also saying this whole thing is crazy, it's got to stop. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he's just a guy. He's a dude, just hanging out with other dudes, trying to make a difference. And even Chris Cuomo, okay? This guy, when he was on CNN, was one of the biggest anti-Trump supporters. He got kicked off of CNN for helping his brother be a douchebag. And then he had an interview with Tucker Carlson. And basically Tucker had to tell him, look, we've never really met. We have mutual respect because we're good at what we do. But you aren't a thoughtful, considerate person. And I don't mean that as a mean thing. I'm simply saying you don't think. Ever since that moment, Chris Cuomo has been a little bit more critical. He has been a little bit more thoughtful. And he's starting to realize the same thing Tucker has realized, the same thing JD Vance has realized, the same thing that Donald Trump and RFK Jr. have realized. We have been insane for far too long. We have embraced the absurdity, and it's time to stop. That's what's really going on in this video. It's not about Trump speaking nice and being funny behind closed doors. This is about a clear and conscious choice. We can either continue to accept the insanity, or we can take the medicine and ultimately put down the bottle. Stop drinking the garbage, stop eating the slop, and realize that maybe, just maybe, we need to be sane again. That's what's really going on here. And I hope you enjoyed that segment here on Political Brawl. My name is Brian. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one. And JD Vance isn't weird. Let's be real here.